Hey everyone, welcome to another Webflow Build With Me series livestream. I'm your host Nelson, thanks for joining me today. For those of you who are new, welcome. These streams are a great place to help you get inspired and show you how different designs can be built in Webflow.
And of course, for those of you returning, welcome back. What we're going to be doing today is recreating a very unique design that I saw on Twitter by a graphic designer named Nihar Tiade. He posted this on April 11th. When I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, this design's beautiful. And the movie is awesome too. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. Do yourself a favor. It is a great movie. We're going to be rebuilding this in Webflow. And as I stared at this longer, and I was like, wow, this is really good. And then I started to think, wait, I see a row here. I see 3 columns. I see Flexbox happening. I see grid. Maybe this googly eye can follow. Wait a minute. You can build this in Webflow, right? Yeah, you can. So I'm going to show you how it's done, and I was able to do it. So here it is right here, the finished version. Let me refresh. There we go. All right. So let's get into our agenda for today. So we're going to break down Nahar's design. All right, and then we're going to build the layout from scratch inside of Webflow, and we'll add that mouse movement interaction to make the eye follow our mouse. And if there's any time at the end, I'll answer questions that you may have for me. So without further ado, let's get down to the breakdown. All right, so I have a printout right here, right? And so this printout is the design we're going to be doing. And when I stare at something like this, I'm like, where are the columns? Where are the rows? How do I group everything together? So what I do is I think about everything. I think about everything. So I think about this being a row, this being a column, this being a column. But rather than show you in this way, let me go back to my desk and I'll give you a better way to break things down. All right. So we have the design and I cut it up for you, so you actually see what goes into my head whenever I'm doing this, all right? So right here, I see 2 rows, 1, 2, all right? And then I see 3 columns, 1, 2, and 3, okay? And this one spans 2 columns, right? So if you think about this, we're using grid from here, all right? We're using grid, and then within there, we have some other little things happening. So let me go to my screen. Right here, we have this first cell. It has 2 pieces of text, and it's on top of a background video. So that's basically Flexbox vertical, simple, okay? Flexbox vertical, justify left. For this logo, it would be Flexbox horizontal or vertical, whichever you want, and going to justify start and align right. All right. Now, the most complicated grid cell would be this one right here. All right. All of this all at once. Gosh, can't stop with the puns. All right. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. Okay. And then within this first row, you have 2 columns. So this is Flexbox right here. So 4 rows, Flexbox, that would be vertical and then stretched. And then this right here would be Flexbox with 2 columns. So that's horizontal, justify left. And then this is Flexbox vertical. Flexbox vertical. This, well, obviously it's just one piece of text, so that's easy to do. And then you have Flexbox horizontal with space between. So yeah, and then this is just its own row. All right. And so the last 2 cells would be this background video and then this background video with text under it. So that can easily be Flexbox vertical. Okay. So that's the quick breakdown. That's how my mind works whenever I'm looking at a design. Let's get into the build. So we're going to take everything that we've talked about, everything we've planned, and put that into Webflow. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put an overall grid. Get the grid, Command E, type in grid, enter. Boom, we have our grid. Let's go ahead and add another column. So third column right there. Cool. Let's make the gap smaller. I'm going to make it like 8 for the columns and rows right here. Cool. Now let's go ahead and set the height of that. I'm going to use minimum height of 100 SVH to make sure that the grid takes up the whole height of the screen. And let's edit our grid again and make this smaller. Let's make this 75 FR and this one 0.5. 0.75 FR and 0.5. All right, done. So we have our overall grid. Now we need to add our grid cells. What is a grid cell? It's basically a div. All right, and just to plan ahead, let's make sure that all the divs have flex. So I'm gonna call this a grid cell and give it a flex, and we'll leave it as vertical. We'll set it as vertical for all of them. Okay. And let's go ahead and press Command D to duplicate this grid cell. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're not going to do 6. We're not going to add 6 cells. We only need 5 because this first one spans 2. It spans 2 columns. All right. So there we go. We have our overall grid. We've set our flex, and yeah, we're ready to put in our content. All right. But actually, that workflow was kind of slow. Let's try something else. Let's do this over. Let's do it over and do it faster. So I'm going to drag in this, and I'm going to say I want 3 columns and 2 rows. Cool. All right. And now I want this cell to merge with this one. So now it's spanned. All right. It spanned 2 columns. And let's go ahead and make sure, I'm going to go back to this quick stack. Make sure that my gap is set to 8 and my padding is set to 8. Cool. And lastly, minimum height SVH, 100 SVH. Cool. We're done, and each cell already has Flexbox applied to it. Flexbox vertical. So we're ready to go. Much easier. Now, moving on. Let's go ahead and add our first text block right there. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is add the everything. Let's go ahead and add that. So I'm going to put everything, and let's call this large text. Large. Oh, okay. Let me call it big text. There we go. So let's go ahead and make it like, let's start with 20 VW. Okay. Too big. I'm going to make this bold. Let's say 10. 14 VW. All right. Something like that. Going to duplicate this and call this everywhere. And I noticed that the designer made the W italicized. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. All I have to do is highlight, italicize. So we have everything everywhere. And then let's go ahead and put the logo at the top right. So I'm going to drag in the logo. Let's see here. Where's the logo? There it is. So I have the logo, and I'm going to say A24 logo is going to be a width of 100. Let's make it 150. 125. Okay. And so I need to make sure that this aligns to the top right. So I can just click on this button and say align to the right. Cool. That's done. Much faster. All right. Next, let's copy this big text. And actually, this is the most complicated cell. Oh, and plus this cell needs to be, this row needs to be smaller. Let me fix that real quick. So I'm going to set this to, say, 20 VW. Let's say 24. All right, cool. There we go. Done. And so for this cell, there's 4 rows. Remember I said there's 4 rows for this right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's go ahead and add 4 divs. So I have div 1, 2, 3, 4. And so this is going to align vertical. That's right. And they're all going to stretch, and they're all going to space evenly. Cool. 2 easy buttons. All right. Now this big text, I'm going to copy it and paste it here. Replace it with all. All right. And then also inside of this div block, let's add another div because this is the second column of this one right here. And so this, let's go ahead and flex it so it's horizontal. There we go. And this one right here is going to expand. Let's give some margin of 8 pixels. So we're going to put a text box here, and I think the text says, yeah, music by. So let me just copy and paste what I already did. So music by, and then a shift enter to add a line break. Let me just duplicate this. And this one, let me see here. Nope, that's for the parent. So this one right here, we have flex, and I want to make sure that this is flex vertical and there's space between. And let's make the line height of these smaller. There we go. Cool. Next we have this, and I think it's the directed by the Daniels. And then let's copy and paste this here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all of this right here. Where are you? There we go. So this is the cast. Oh, there we go. So this is the cast right here. So I'm going to set it to flex and space between. There we go. And we can change the text later, but I'm just showing you now. Basically, this is just building out the layout. Now we can take this last big piece of text and say, at once. And there we go. Now we just need to add the background videos. You know, it's from here, it's just super easy. So it's not a matter of, do you use grid? Do you use flex? You can use both. All right. So with this quick stack, you can do your overall layout. And like I said, it's basically you're cutting up a piece of paper and you're making your grid visually like this. Right. And then when you get to the smaller details, using QuickStack, you can go ahead and set everything to flex because everything is already set to flex. So let's go ahead and add a background video. So to make sure that you're not waiting for me to upload the videos and transcode the videos, I already have the videos uploaded and ready to go. So I'm going to copy it from this page and paste it in here. So right here, I'm going to paste it. And where is it? Where are you? Oh, okay. So it's there, but I have to align this. So let me align, stretch, and there we go. All right. And I want to double check. This is, let's say, BGV 2. And I'm going to make sure that this height has 100%. There we go. That's what I want. Let's copy the next video. All right. We're going to paste that third video here. All right. And the video is there. We just can't see it. So if I click on background video, I can see that the line button shows up. Let's stretch it. There we go. In this background video, I'm going to call it background video 3. And let's give it a height of 300. Excuse me, 300. And we give it a bottom margin of, say, 8 pixels. I'm using 8 everywhere. Everything at once, all. Okay. And lastly, we have the iconic quote from our main character or supporting character. So let me put a text, put the quote, and let me give this name of quote so I can make the text bigger. Something like that. Let's make it 10 VW. Whoa. Okay, 3 VW. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah. Cool. So let's go ahead and put the last video. So how do you put video inside of text? All right. So here's how you do this. I'm going to take these two big texts and I'm going to wrap them in a div. So what I can do is right click on this tag, wrap in a div block, or Command Shift G right there. I'm going to drag this big text in there as well. So we have this, and we're going to call this the text mask because that's what it is. It's masking the video behind it. So text mask. And the trick with the text mask is you need to make sure that the text is all black. So I'm going to make sure that all the text is black. There we go. And the background is white. So as you can see, nothing looks like nothing really happened. But there's a trick to this. Don't worry. Stay with me. All right. So let's go ahead and set the position to relative because I want to make sure that this text mask is on top of the background video that I'm going to set to set behind this, right? So now in this cell, I'm going to add another div. Okay, I'm going to add another div, and let's just call this top row. I know, call it whatever you want. And I'm going to set this to position relative. And the width, whoops, going too fast. The width and height is going to be 100% of its parent. Okay. All right, top row. And I'm going to put that text mask inside of the top row. Okay. And we're going to make sure that nothing overflows outside of the top row. So I'm going to chop everything off that goes out of it, right? Lastly, we put in the background video. So let's get the background video, put it inside top row, and now you probably see nothing. That's fine. Let's go call this background video 1, and I want to make sure that it's aligned properly. So I'm going to do position absolute and full, because as you probably saw, hold on, let me remove this real quick. See how the video icon is like chopped off? That means that the video isn't vertically aligned. So we only see the top half of the video. We want to see the middle part of it. We want to align it middle. So position absolute, set it to full, and we should see it. I think that's right. Hold on. Okay, let me just set it to full. See what happens. All right. So if I preview, you'll probably won't see anything. That's on purpose because this text and the background color of the text mask is overlaying on top of the background video. That's fine. That's what we want. So the trick, the magical trick is blend mode. So we're going to go to blending right here and watch what happens. I'm going to set it to screen. And you can kind of see that the video icon is there. We can see it inside of the text. And to prove it to you, there it is. So the trick, again, is using a text mask group and put your text on top of the video and make sure that the text mask has a position of relative and z-index 1, so to make sure it's on top of the video. Make sure that the background has a color of white. And lastly, you set the blending to screen. All right? Oh, and sorry, and one more thing, the typography needs to be set to black. So there you go. Oh, actually, we do have one more part. So let's get into it, right? We're going to do a mouse move interaction, all right? So we're going to do the googly eye following my mouse. So if you haven't done a mouse move interaction, I'll show you how to do that. So check out the eyeball right here. It's following my mouse. All right, so right here, this googly eye, we're going to overlay the O with a circle. And then within that circle, we're going to put a black circle, and that black circle is going to follow me around. All right? So this div block right here, I'm going to call it googly eye wrapper. And I'm going to set this to position relative. And so the reason why it's relative is because the O is going to be in here. So I need to like have it floating on top of this O. So let's go ahead and put another div, and we're going to call this the Google eye, because that's what the main character says. to this character right here. Let's go ahead and set this to position absolute, so it's floating on top left. And let's go ahead and give it a height of, I'm going to just guess 200 pixels by 200 pixels. Oof, that's too big. 100 by 100? 125, 125? Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's what I want. Sorry if my camera is in the way. All right, so here we go. And let me move this. I want to move this box, yeah, right there. And I may make this eye smaller. I don't know. Let's just see. All right, let's go ahead and make our eye. So our eye, it's not full white. It's like a gradient. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to say it's white to kind of off-white, like that. And we'll start it off down here. Okay? Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, something like that. Okay? And we're going to round it out with a border radius of 50%. Yeah, this eye is too big. Or we can keep it that way. I don't know. Let's give it a border, a slight border like this, and also a box shadow. Okay, so I'm just guessing right now. Just designing. Okay, we can have the shadows coming from there. Have it blur, the shadow blur. And then the size of it, there we go. Okay, cool. Something like that. And now this googly eye, let's go ahead and add another eye inside, the black part of the eye, the iris. We're going to put a div inside of that. Let's call this iris. Iris, there it is. Okay. And again, this will be a circle. To make a circle out of a div, you just do 50% on the border radius and make sure that the width and height are the same. So I'm going to say, let's say 50-50. And then color the background black. And if I'm going too fast, let me know. Drop questions in the chat. There we go. Or actually, let's not make it full black. Let's add that gradient. There we go. I'll go up. There we go. Cool. All right. And let's make sure that this, let's move it here. Actually, yeah, I want it in the center. So easiest way to center something inside of something else is Flexbox. So I'm going to Flexbox, center, boom, done. All right, cool. So now we've made our element. So the thing that we're going to move is this iris, all right? And so anywhere I move within the grid, the iris is going to follow, okay? So I'm going to select the grid, the overall grid, and I'm going to tell Webflow, hey, track my mouse whenever it's inside of the grid. Track the X and Y position of my mouse. So we're going to go to Webflow interactions at the top right. We're going to add an element trigger, and we're going to say mouse move over element. And we're going to create a new animation. And this animation is going to be called Follow Me. You can name it whatever you want. And so now you can go ahead and target the iris. So what I've done is I've set the interaction trigger to the whole grid, the whole page, but I only want to affect the iris. So that's why I've clicked on this, and now I can go on my mouse X movements. All right. And so mouse X is actually, let's go to, yeah, mouse X. I'm going to move this iris. I'm going to move it this way. Okay, so 34%. I'm going to move it, 34 pixels on the X horizontal. So while I'm moving my mouse to the very left edge, which is 0%, follow me to the left. And the opposite, when I move my mouse all the way to the right, follow me the opposite, which is 34%. positive 34. So this is negative and this is positive. And if I preview, there we go. It's already following me. Now let's do the same thing with the y-axis. I'm going to set the move. And so at the top is 0%. The bottom of the browser is 100%. So for the top, I'm going to go negative. And I only want to move it this much, say 18. And this one's going to be positive 18. All right. And so if I preview, and there we go. We're done. The googly eye. All right. So outro time. If you need to learn Webflow or want to learn Webflow, go to university.webflow.com. Lots of wonderful free tutorials, free courses for you to take advantage of. If you have any account, billing, or technical issues, go ahead and go to support.webflow.com. And our wonderful support team will help you out as soon as they can. If you want to join the community, help the community, or ask the community questions, go to discourse.webflow.com. Again, my name is Nelson Albalus Jr., and I want to say thanks again to everyone watching
live or recording of this stream. We appreciate each and every one of you. We'll see you next time, and as always, make the web beautiful together.